Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Preacher. Great episode. A lot of interesting things went down this episode, so let's break things down bit by bit. First of all, we have Tulip meeting with God again, which is kind of interesting. The fact is that he actually looks like the actor he was getting to portray him, but it's like, well, that was kind of the point. It was like, come. I thought it was all his, looking the way he does. I thought that was kind of meant specifically to like just fool people on earth, but maybe that was supposed to fool people in heaven too. I mean, I guess that would make sense. Like, I guess in my mind, I thought all of heaven was in the know, but then I forget like DeBlanc and Fior. I mean, at least Fior didn't know, and I'd assume by association DeBlanc didn't know too. In the angel hierarchy, probably only like the higher ups knew about him being missing and stuff like that. So it wasn't just about fooling humans. Of course, you need someone to look like you because you need to fool everyone in heaven thinking that everything's good, everything's like still moving along. So an interesting thing. I don't even think, even back in season 1, I didn't even really think about that. I think that's kind of nice, kind of tying that back in like that. So, because I guess things would be a little chaotic if people thought, well, if all of heaven knew that you were gone, it kind of caused some issues. But then again, once again, it's like, well, if you didn't want issues to happen, why did you just disappear? Well, once again, it's like, maybe it's all part of a plan, maybe it's not. Because maybe at that point in time, they hadn't decided what they wanted him to necessarily look like. So that's why they kept the glowing thing up at the end of season 2. But it's just kind of interesting because I thought that was kind of like oh yeah, that's how he looks all the time. But he kind of like makes himself look more, human because his true form would be too much for people to handle. I thought something like that. But it seems like that's just kind of like his godly glow. It turns out everything that's happened so far is because he wanted it to happen. Tulip kind of messing things up for Jesse, making that Jesse stay in Angelfield for whatever reason is all part of his plan. It's like, oh, some people make the right choices all the time. Others make messed up choices. I think that really what set her off, because it's like him saying like, yeah, you were bound to fail. I never expected you to do great things. I expected you to fuck up like you normally would. That went according to plan. Tulip isn't all about following anyone's damn plan, and she's tired of the whole being, the curse of the tulip. I mean, the tulips, the curse of the old hairs. She's not down for that. So she did surprising things, like her standing up to God like that. I was like, ooh. Because she's talking about the fact is, look at you with that lady dressed the way you are as man dog. You ain't here because you got some grand plan. You're just screwing around on Earth. And he's like, he gets super pissed and zaps her. He's like, I am a loving God, but don't push me. And I love that she legitimately like, yeah, I'm going to find you and I'm going to kick your ass. It's like, that wasn't the storyline I was expecting. So it's interesting. So what exactly he wants, I don't know. That is the question. Because in Tulip's mind, he's scared of Genesis. So this is all about keeping Jesse as far away from a complete Genesis as possible. I mean, to be fair, we know Genesis pretty much works on everything. Obviously the cowboy, but that's because he didn't have a soul. Like, I make the assumption God has a soul. Angels have a soul, so you'd assume God has one too. So Genesis is probably one of the, because Genesis is probably one of the few things, if not the only thing that could take him out. So it's like, maybe he just doesn't want anything in existence more powerful to him. At least in this state, Genesis can't be used. So maybe that's what he's, at least that's what Tulip's mindset is on it. Maybe that is the case. Maybe he is scared of Jesse. Maybe that's what this is all about. Maybe he does actually have some grand plan. I don't know. It's kind of interesting they are outright making him kind of an asshole. But I'm curious to see what that ends up turning into, whether that really is his whole shtick of like, yeah, he just doesn't want Jesse to make Genesis complete for whatever reason. I mean, it kind of would make sense because this is all started because Jesse was going to get answers from God about everything. So maybe he doesn't want to answer questions. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm very interested to see what that turns out to be. Now, continuing with Tulip's side of things, it's kind of interesting because it's for her, she's trying to find out about a way to kind of get around this, like, Madame Marie situation. Just because, like, for her, once again, she still blames herself for Jesse still being stuck in the situation. So she's trying to find a way around it. And that way around it includes trying to find the napkin that's his. But there's so many. So it's hard. There was too many for her to tell, like, which one's actually Jesse's or not, So that she does the whole thing with TC and like, his wanting to see his dingle, and that was kind of interesting. I was like, wait, what? And that's what that was all about. So that was kind of interesting. So basically he ended up telling her a story. So it seems like the napkins don't mean diddly squat. They're just more of a physical representation of the deal, that no matter what, even if you have the napkin, it doesn't change the fact is that the deal is still on. it's like I said, it's just kind of like a, I guess, like I said, a physical representation, almost like a totem of it. But the deal is kind of like this mystical thing. And the only way for it to end is for Madame Marie to be like, oh yeah, your debt's done. But like in Jesse's case, she's never going to let Jesse go now that she has him. Like, he was forced to be there before, but he probably never made a deal in all that time he was there. So he wasn't bound to her like that. He has a way around that now, obviously being Genesis, but it's kind of interesting too, because the story that was told about the dude getting the napkin, he rips it up and it ends up literally ripping his wife in half. So it's interesting, even though it is just a napkin, so it doesn't mean, it's like I said, it's a physical manifestation of the deal. So it's like, it's more like, it's like a conduit where it's like, yeah, it's a representation of like the deal and the person still being connected. So trying to rip the deal just ended up killing a lot. So it means the same thing will happen to Jesse if she tries to destroy the napkin, even if she found out which one was actually his. I thought it was so interesting, like the moment she was like, okay, I will touch. I was like, oh, poor TC, it's not going to go the way you want. Basically for him, it's like, he said, it tells her there's no way out of this deal. Which, interestingly enough, she goes to Madame Boyd, and I love that whole situation of her being in the car, being like, "Do I take the gun? No, I'm gonna put the gun away. No, I'm gonna take the gun out. No, I'm gonna put it back." She couldn't decide what she was gonna do, and it's very interesting. Obviously, when you go through it, initially the fact is, it looked like she was almost scoping the place out too. I think it was simply for the fact that she was hoping to go to one magic person to kind of cancel out this other magic. That seemed like that was a grand plan, but we do see that they are in the soul business as well, so. I mean, couldn't they just get someone else's soul and give that to Jesse? I mean, but the thing is, once again, it comes down to how this exactly works. Because even if you get another soul, that might not necessarily mean that Genesis will work. Jesse will probably have to most likely get his own soul back. But it does seem like they paid a big focus on like the soul business, like of them like repackaging up souls. So I'm like, maybe that will turn into something. Maybe that'll still be a plot point. Maybe even if you make his soul complete, Genesis will be complete. Or maybe it's like my thought process before, where it is kind of like Genesis exists in every fiber of his soul. Their souls have basically become one. So any piece of Jesse being missing, that 1% holds part of what Genesis is too. So it has to be specifically Jesse's soul return before Genesis can be used again. Maybe, like I said, we'll still kind of have to wait and see on that. But it is kind of interesting that Madame Boyd turns out to be the young person that she thought was the assistant and everything. What I thought was most fascinating too is she knows exactly who Tula was, because she's like, yeah, so tell me what kind of situation your boyfriend Jesse was in. And she's like, his name's Richard. No, your boyfriend is Jesse Alondra. I was like, how the fuck do you know that? And she even knows who Tulip is too. To be fair, we're dealing with like some probably old school magic, so they ain't no scrubs. I mean, it seems like she's like one of the top tier people. I mean, especially nowadays because of everything. So I can only assume she's doing kind of what Madame Marie is doing, because like it's something that Cassidy makes a reference to. He's kind of like, you're a healer, but why don't you? She's like, oh, I will soon enough. That's what this is all about. She stays young. Once again, that's what Jody talked about, that the fact is, like, that's how she stays young, is by eating people's souls. No, he has told that to Jesse in the past, and it seems like that's what this is mainly all about. I think she actually probably is happy when people can't pay, just because it, like, trying to bleed people dry until they have no choice, so she can get their soul. Because it's the only way she can stay young. That's what she plans to do now that she has Jesse back, collect so many souls so she can kind of be youthful and powerful again. I can only assume Madame Boyd is in that same situation. There's the, like, dead, decrepit body that's there. I don't know whether that's her predecessor that she took over from, or was that just supposed to be like, oh yeah, if she looks the way she is as Madame, I don't know, maybe it's to kind of catch people off guard. Like, I don't know what the whole situation is, why she pretends, and why that body's there, and what that's like the whole deal's supposed to represent. So, like I said, I can only assume that's why she looks the way she does, because she does the same thing and is kind of making herself super young, because the Boyds have kind of been killing it in the soul business. Once again, crazy to think about, considering like the whole Happy Soul Go-Go's kind of been killing everyone too, but somehow the Boyds have managed to stay in business. Maybe that's because they have like a little like deal going on with Happy Soul Go-Go. I'm curious to see like how things work out between her and Tulip in the next episode. Tulip's got a gun on her, but that might not mean diddly squat. But I still don't even think she can actually help Jesse out of it, because like I said, it's just like, and I think it has like a double meaning to it, Tulip being like every curse can be broken. Obviously this is her trying to break her own curse by being like not being the screw up, trying to do everything right, for once, and trying to also break Jesse out of his situation too. Once again, it's a question of why are the Boyds so mad at Jesse? So what did he do in the past? It's like maybe in fact, because like I said, TC and Jody kept saying two different things last episode. It's like, oh, it's an ex. It's because he killed somebody. It's kind of what they were saying. Like, so maybe that body, it's someone maybe that was like Madam Boyd's mom or sister or whatever. And that the current Madam Boyd, maybe she's not as old as I treat her to be. Maybe she's not exactly like Madame Marie. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. But maybe her and Jesse kind of had a thing in the past, and that's why it's like, oh yeah, this is ex-girlfriend meeting new girlfriend. Maybe that's the type of thing. I figured the storyline would kind of be like that, but I didn't, I'm kind of starting to think that now. It's like maybe she's actually like not as old as I think she is. Like maybe it's not even just the eating souls. Like maybe it is. Maybe that's what kind of threw Jesse away from her, what caused all those issues all those years ago. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out exactly what went down next episode, with that. So then on the other side of things, we have Jesse trying, once again, like as I said with Madame Marie's trying to get the business back in play, and so Jesse's kind of having to do everything he can to like pick up the business, kind of getting people to make deals with her, but obviously it's not working because it's like, but someone brings up the tombs. I'm like, the tombs. I'm like, at first I was like, is that supposed to be like some kind of like prostitution ring or something like that? It's like, turns out not the case at all. But I thought it was kind of interesting because this episode made me kind of bring up something I've been meaning to ask too. Is like, what is TC and Jody's relationship to Jesse? Because even Jesse's like, why do you still serve Madame Marie? It's like, after everything she's done to you, to my mom. So that makes me think like, Jody and TC must be his uncles. I mean, they never really expressed like that level of like what everyone's relationship is to each other, but I assume that's what that's supposed to be. That must be his mom's siblings. I mean, I assume at the very least, because he's like, oh, Jesse's like, if you're not going to do it for me, do it for Christine, and then he elbows her, Jesse in the face, because he's like, yeah, this all happened because she tried to run. Because I guess it's also at the same time, I guess, because in some way he probably blames Jesse too. Because it's like, that's probably why he was all about killing Jesse's dad, because it's like, yeah, technically Christina, what her situation being what it is because of them. It's like whatever befell her is because of Jesse and his dad. If you weren't in the picture, Christine wouldn't have a need to run away and all this stuff. So I think that's what kind of pisses it off. And I love Jesse being like, one day, Jody, and he's like, well, it ain't today. Or like, I'm waiting for that foreshadowing moment that's setting up for. It's going to be crazy when the time comes. I mean, obviously, this all kind of ties into Cassidy's story, which I think is so interesting. First of all, the whole like him and Jesse. Jesse's like, yeah, you're my best friend. Like, I know I don't say this enough. He's like, you never said it all. He's like, what? I could have. I was like, nope. Every time you think about it, it's like he's never referred to Cassidy as his best friend all across the series so far. It's always been like Cassidy being like, oh yeah, like, Jesse's my best mate. That's what he always said. It's never been like, the feeling's never been like, at least verbally mutual, so, but Jesse kind of being like, okay, like, yeah, I'm sorry about that, you are my best friend. It's like, oh, they're making up. I was like, oh man, that's so good. I thought things were gonna be bad. And then Jesse's like, yeah, you need to get the hell out. He's like, really? We just had this good moment and you just don't want me around Tulip. It's like, no. He's like, are you stupid? This place is called Angelville for a reason. He's like, do you not realize what's going on? Because I thought it was so interesting, because it's like, I was like, Cassie's hiding the fact is that he's a vampire. Even Jesse's kind of skating around the fact. And I was like, all right. And then it kind of got me interestingly, because TC started piecing stuff that he's like, oh, you talk about all these scars and all the shit you've been through, but it's like, you don't have any scars, Cassidy. And he's just kind of like, oh yeah, I just got ill fast, and just kind of brushes it off once again, because it didn't click in my head. Because I brought it up last episode. It's like, oh, they don't know you're a vampire, and it's like, right. In retrospect, it's like, it's not like Cassidy goes around telling everyone he's a vampire. The last person outside of this group to find out he's a vampire, like outside of the people that know, the only one. Hell, I would assume the Grail knows about him being a vampire. I don't think that ever came up, but I assume as much. But the last time someone found out about him being a vampire was Eugene's dad back in season 1. That was the last time that's come up. So, but like I said, he's always kind of kept that close to the vest. So it's never really been a situation he parades it around. I mean, besides, he knows a lot of people would hunt him down. It hasn't come up in a while, but people would hunt him down for being, so I guess he's just cautious about it anyway. But then Jesse tells him, yeah, you have a right to be cautious. Like, even Jesse's avoiding the subject because it's like, if they know what you are, it makes it go like, you don't know what this place is. And it's like, they hunt monsters, which even Cassie brings up a good point, is like, you deal with like a lot of the dark arts, magic and voodoo, and yet you're going to bash him for being a vampire. It's like, it's different, I guess, because I guess magic is magic, but him being what he is kind of an abomination and stuff like that. I guess it's kind of like the thought process, which even I'll admit, isn't there a little bit of hypocrisy behind that, considering the whole like Madame Marie eating people's soul type of thing, plus where the hell Jody's got going with the superhuman strength crap, like, that ain't natural. So isn't that a little hypocritical on their part? But nevertheless, it's kind of interesting because sadly, like, because I think he is so pissed at Jesse just because of the whole tulip situation, that Cassie's not really willing to listen to him. He even goes to Madame Marie about the whole love potion thing, which I was like, oh, that's going to take down a derby. I thought what was going to potentially happen is that he's going to end up using it like on someone other than Tulip just because he has to. I mean, he still has it, but I get the feeling like that's going to come back in some shape or form. And I think Madame Marie is all happy about doing that because I assume she wants Jesse not to have anyone left. So if Cassidy's able to kind of break things up between him and Tulip, all the more better, because Jesse will have no reason to leave, like you kind of have nothing left, and he'll have no choice but to stay, is kind of her thought process. So she plans on probably taking everything away from him, kind of what the I'm thinking the Grail God that took so long to get out was trying to basically do to him and the group last season, so maybe something similar to that. So, because she teases Jesse with it, because she's like, oh, what did Cassie come talk to you about? She's like, oh, he's Irish, so I guess just coming to talk is what they do. It's like being all cheeky and stuff, knowing exactly what's going on. So, sadly, once again, because Cassie wasn't listening, he eats a chicken, and both Jody and TC string him up, and they're asking Jesse like, oh, did you know? He pretends like he didn't. But then after all that, like, they're like, oh, we're going to leave him up for the sun. But then Jesse's like, no, we'll have another place for him. And it turns out, we find out what the tombs are. It turns out it's a fight pit, I guess, with everyone who's ever done some disgusting crap. It's essentially what the whole point is. I guess people that Madame Marie's kind of sucked their soul out, whether it's all of it or just most of it, like whatever the situation may be, people who've fallen behind become participants in this debt. I mean, because they're all, I guess, potentially terrible people if they're like, if you made a deal and you're not, like, I don't know, because it turns out one of the people in this particular fight that is kind of get referenced at the end of the episode, it's like a pedophile or something, and you have them against Cassidy, who's it's kind of a more literal monster, whereas you have, well, that dude's still a literal monster too because of what he is, but it's just kind of like he's a human monster, whereas Cassidy's more of a supernatural monster. Obviously, it's for the purposes of like, if he doesn't do this, like, it's Jesse's way of trying to find a means to keep him alive, which obviously he's probably just going to be stuck there fighting. That's kind of whole potential. So it's not only does Jesse got to find a way out for him, he's also got to find out a way for Cassidy, even though Cassidy's doing this shady shit that he's doing behind Jesse's back. So it's kind of a bit of a conundrum right there in itself. Unfortunately, like, obviously Jesse doesn't know, because once again, it's like, Cassidy's his best friend. I mean, which I guess you could also make the argument, it's like, well, he's kind of your best friend because he's kind of your only friend under these circumstances. So friends aren't really coming around that easily for Jesse under these circumstances on this road trip and everything. But then again, I guess that could also be another argument as to why Cassidy is his best friend, because even through it all, we're still here through thick and thin, which is definitely getting pushed to the limits of what that really is all about last season and this season. I mean, but to be fair, like, Jesse and Cassidy have their differences kind of every season. They had theirs in season 1 when you found out. And I'm sitting there thinking about that. Holy shit. That makes so much sense why he acted the way he did the moment he found out what Cassidy was. Holy shit, I didn't even think about that. The Langiels are so against the supernatural and, like, well, quote unquote monsters. It's like, well, that's why he was so pissed at him like that. Holy crap. That's so interesting how that ties in together. Like, even though you might not know it at the time. That makes so much sense. I guess because in my thought process, was mainly because it's like, well, he's a holy man and stuff like that. You know, he's a preacher and everything. So I thought it's like, oh, that's against God's creation and stuff like that. Maybe that's what was kind of implied. But I like with this whole Langell thing, it's like, no, that seems like that's what that's all about. I mean, to be fair, they kind of raised him for probably a good chunk of his life too. So obviously a lot of that stuff probably synced over to like him, you know. But once again, going back to it, it's like you think you'd be more inclined to be on that side of things, being okay with the supernatural and monsters, considering the Langell situation being what it is, you know, but who knows. So once again, our heroes find themselves in very peculiar situations. Cassidy stuck in a monster fight pit, which who knows that will literally turn into other monsters as well. I mean, because who's to say what else they haven't captured? I'm sure vampires aren't the only, like I said, like they're definitely not the only like supernatural thing in this universe of Preacher, but I mean, what else have the Langells captured over the years? And what else is down there in the tombs? We have Tulip being in her situation like she is with Boyd's, and what that's going to turn into, who knows. And Jesse obviously still being stuck by his grandmother, so it's just kind of a sticky situation all around. There's also the Grail too. I almost forgot about it, but like Tulip went to go find him at the beginning of the episode, and it's like, yep, they've already packed their bags and gone. Where exactly? Who knows? I mean, which is interesting because there is the whole God's running around thing and they're trying to make Jesse the Messiah. I mean, I guess that could be it. Like, once again, going back to what I was saying before, it's like maybe God just doesn't want Jesse kind of taking, it's like, nah, this is my thing. I'm not letting anyone else. Because we did hear some theories last season, I mean, within the show as to why God disappeared. So I'm so interested to find out, like, why exactly it is that he is here on Earth. Does he really have some grand plan? Or is it like Tulip said, that this is all about being jealous and scared of Genesis? Or once again, is that part of the plan too? Who knows? I'm very interested to see what the next episode has in store for us, like with all of this. I say it so it said it like kind of acceptingly in this episode too, but it's like I did bring it up last episode. I mean, are we still 100% sure that is actually God? Could just be something pretending to be him for whatever reason, but who knows? Like I said, we'll just wait till the next episode to kind of see what this all turns out to be, you know? But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.